Welcome to Prescribed by Dr. Nathan Goodyear, where integrative oncology meets holistic healing. This podcast is your home for the latest in innovation, exploration, and elevation in all areas of integrative oncology, medicine, health, wellness, and beyond. Join me and a host of other innovators as we go from practicing to prescribing. Your daily dose of wellness begins now. Dr. Nathan Goodyear here with the Prescribed podcast, and we are on location in Valle de Guadalupe at the Misiones de California winery, and we are with the winemaker himself, Raúl Velasco. And I have joining me my colleague, my friend, and a comrade in this podcast series that we'll be announcing soon, Dr. Miranda LaBant. Raúl, we're sitting here listening, and first of all, thank you for opening up your winery.
Yeah, my pleasure.
We were here 2 years ago, and I had the pleasure of coming in and sitting down with you, and I felt as you opened up your wine, you opened up your heart. And I think a lot of people, because this series is about wine, and a lot of people are confused about wine and about alcohol and about where that sits in health or disease. And of course, we talk a lot about cancer. And we're going to go through a series and we're going to tell them what they think they know about wine and cancer and health is not what science says. But you were telling us before we got on camera here about your family and how you got into winemaking. I would love you to retell that story because I think it gets to the heart of why wine in its natural state is beneficial.
Yeah. Yes. Really, it's a great adventure that we have now with our family, but that began several years ago. When I was a child, we have a big cousin that introduced us, all the cousins, in the world of wine. And I think I was 12 years more or less old. But he never permitted that some of the cousins get drunk or drink more, that you must to do that. So it was a really comfortable talking and drinking bread, cheese, and wine. That's the only thing that we drink. And I want to point out that our family, from my grandfather and grandmother, all were from Mexico. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes, hey, you are European or something. No, I am Mexican, 4 sides. But anyway, that's the way that from my childness began drinking wine. Mm-hmm. My mother was another. Now you say that she likes a lot of wine, and in all the family parties, we drink wine, and we use. I remember now the I don't know how to say in Spanish. We say porrón. The glass,
the glass you pour.
Yes, and you hail this wine and just the little. Okay. You need to drink it and continues drink it and until you cut it. Okay, so that's the way. Very, very fun, a family tradition in all the events. So the destiny brought to me here to the root of wine. I never dreamed that, but something in my child or or young, I make well that I am now with this premium life and that I am doing the passion of my life.
So what you're saying is wine has always been a part of your family.
Yeah.
And when your family would come together, wine was a part of that.
Right.
And so when you look at getting into the winemaking business, your family was a part of that too.
Yes.
And really, when you make this wine, it's a reflection of your family.
Yeah.
It's of a reflection of your heritage.
Yes.
And so it's basically just that re-expression to the public.
Yes. Yes. That's the way that we began to be in the.
Now,
in
you
the
didn't start
wine.
off in the winemaking business, did you?
No.
So you got into this about 12 years ago.
15
okay.
15 years ago, 16 years ago.
But it was your family together.
Yes. It's a family business, it's a family owner. There's all the managing of the wineries made by the family. The sales of the wine is also made by the family in different cities of Mexico. And the family is involved together. They support, they give the strong to maintain. Because normally here in Mexico, the small family business disappear in 5 years.
Oh.
And no more because there are a lot of troubles too. But our family has grown through the wine, and we now are more than 15 years in the business, and we hope to be more wines.
See, I think that's an interesting point, is that when you look at wine of old, it is a process of family. It's inseparable from family. It's inseparable from sitting down together and breaking bread, as he talked about with cheese. But what wine has become in the hyper commercialized world today, it's moved away from its roots. Dr. Miranda, it brings me to a lot of things we see in medicine, where medicine has moved away from its roots. And so I see parallels between wine like Raúl and Misiones de California and medicine at its roots. You're a naturopath, doctor. And where medicine is moving away from its roots and it loses its effectiveness, its benefit. But that applies to wine too. When wine moves away from that origin, it loses its benefit. What do you think about that? You're a naturopath, so that you think like that. As a conventional doc, we don't think about those connections. We think about diagnosis and drug. Yeah. That's how we're trained. So I'd love to get your naturopathic view on that.
Yeah, well, from a naturopathic perspective, we are looking at all of the areas in which we are living within the bounds of nature, right? The foundations for health. And wine comes from nature, especially organic wines. And I think that in the commercialization of wine, or the mass production of wine, or additives that make the wine more flavorful or have more alcohol content, there's so many different processes that we could go into about that. But it pulls away from not only the health benefits of it, but the natural traditional practices of making wine. And it makes me actually think about community and blue zones, right? Where wine is such an essential, integral part of breaking bread, sharing a meal, laughing, and there are so many components of what a blue zone entails. And these are where people there's a long history of centenarians. People are living their best, healthy lives, and wine is a part of their daily practice. It's a sign of prosperity, a joy, right? And so I think it really ties into the traditional roots of wine.
Yes,
and we'll do some deep dives on that. So, I can't tell people that are watching and listening to this, but when we came in here 2 years ago, it's like you set us down at your own table. And it was the most unique experiences. As I told you before, I've been to a lot of wineries in the U.S., and big wineries, but never had the unique experience like what you provided. And then your daughter's now running the show.
Yeah.
But, and it wasn't that it provided something, your wine just finished it off. You talked about the wine and then we tasted it. It was like, oh my goodness, I get it. I get it. So tell us about your wines here, because you make some wines here that I think are unique. As I told you, the Nebbiolo from Italy, they're softer wines, my experience. But when I tasted your Nebbiolo here, it blew me away. It's delicious.
Yeah.
So tell our listener about your wines.
I think that for make a good wine, first you need to begin with the vineyard,
The vineyard.
the vineyard, the vineyard, you know. And you need first to respect the nature. If you add fertilization, chemical fertilization, you will be a more poor earth. And with the years, or the earth will reject because it's poison.
Yeah.
The earth, and then these chemicals go with the rain and to the rivers. So that's the first step.
Yeah, so your wines are organic. They're natural.
Organic.
Yeah.
We have a lot of, as you can hear,
Yeah, the chickens.
the chickens. We have horse. We have lambs.
Mm-hmm.
And goats.
Mm-hmm.
Also goats and lambs. And we have a lot of manure to make a really good compost. So we every year, with all the leftover of the plant, with all the manure, some of the leaf of the trees, we make a really rich nitrogen compost. And that's the way that we add to the earth. And we make an enrichment of the earth. We make much better now the earth. And the nature premium us to give us every year more good fruits from the earth. So one of the first respect the nature. In all ways, in all senses, with my workers here, they don't agree with me, but they are obeying me. Because if they say a rattlesnake, the first thing, I will kill you, because we are in the field. We are in the house of the snakes. So we protect until this kind of poisonous animals, you know. And we learn how to do that. We take with care this rattlesnake, we put in a bucket, and we go down the creek and walk several miles, and we let free.
My wife's not going to be, she's off camera and she's like going, no.
No, thank you.
Yes.
But that's respect, yeah.
Yeah, that's respect in everything, that's the excess of what we do that. The other thing to make good wine is, because when I let me tell you, when I learned to make wine was in the little school, La Escuelita, here in Valle de Porvenir. And they teach us, because it's the normal way to make a wine. When the grape arrives, you need to add this powder. And when the fermentation begins, you need to add this liquid and you need to add this powder, because it's an acidic, saying maltic acid or tartaric acid or something. And when the fermentation is over, you need to protect avoiding the oxidation, and you need to add a god. So I don't like this way to make wine. So I go to the university here in Ensenada, and I obtained a postgrad. I'm proud to study at this age because of my students' classmate was very young. Okay, of course. But anyway, that I learned that it's possible with a lot of care, with a lot of supervision, with a cleaning, aseptic, aseptic way to do wood wine.
Make the wine like, because you mentioned that the name Misiones de California. How did you come up with that name? Because when you look at the missions, even in California, but down here in Mexico, the missions were spread out every so far apart, but each mission they had wine.
Yeah.
So is that where you kind of came up with the name?
Correct. Yeah. Yes, because we found, I will say, the 300 years vines that are producing now. A trunk, beautiful trunk design. And they're in the mission because, for religious purposes that they have. And that's marvelous how this kind of plant is so strong.
300 years?
300 years old, the vines. So it's incredible how it...
Yeah, so for me, I'm a person of faith. And when people talk about wine, they say, well, wine is alcohol and alcohol is dangerous. I was like, if I recall, the very first miracle in the Bible is Jesus making water into wine to celebrate wedding, the beginning, a union of life.
Oh, it's great.
It's going to be something
amazing.
Created that's going to give life.
Yes.
And that's what you do. You give life when you make wine.
Yes. I have very present the thing that you made that because the real is not, they don't need wine. It's a party. What made God to make wine? Because he wants that the people be involved with the wine because it's life.
Well,
That's
good.
And the final thing, when Jesus Christ going the last dinner, supper, he stayed with us in the wine. My God, the God is with us with the wine. That's the senses incredible. Why the wine make so great life in ourselves? That's it.
You said something beautiful, though. Wine is life. And I think the way you do wine is life. I think there's a way that people do wine, Dr. LaBant, that's not life.
Sure.
And I think that separation is what creates the division where wine can be a part of life and sustain life. But I think wine can be a part that doesn't sustain life, that could actually take life.
So I don't agree 100% with you. Sorry.
No, I appreciate that. That's what this is for. No, what I'm talking about is in America, we have the tendency to overindulge on everything.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you can drink too much water and it can kill you.
Yeah.
Okay. And you can drink wine that's pure and it can benefit you. And we're going to talk about that in coming podcasts. One we'll record here in just a second. But then you can drink wine that's contaminated and it could hurt you. And so the whole purpose of this series, Raúl, is to go to the winemakers that give life. Because again, what you said there, I think is dramatic, because going back to Jesus Christ, wine, he gave life. And you're just continuing that process that we get to enjoy. But what a lot of people experience with that, Raúl, is it's not the same. You're isolated here in this beautiful bubble. But a lot of people don't have access to that. And so that's foreign to them.
Yes.
But I appreciate disagreement. What do you disagree about?
Well, because the humanity history that all has, from the beginning, drinking wine because was a way to have life, to the culture, everything. But it's they want to improve and protect the wine. So they add a lot of things.
Sulfur oxide.
A lot of things.
Sugar.
100 products to obtain a good wine. But the wine is so noble. It's so noble. It's just so good that he resists everything. And I think that the wine, I don't want to explain that it's organic and natural like mine. But anyway, they will be, the most of them, good for your health.
Oh, yeah. And that's
the thing that I want to point to. I make the wine different, but 98% of the people add things to the wine. Are very rare, this kind of very healthy, I agree, more healthy, more organic, and more natural wine.
That's right.
Of course, that's it.
What's beautiful is that you're not only keeping tradition with making wine and sharing wine, the organic practices that you have add to the health benefits of wine.
Yeah.
Because organic practices allow for the components that are in this beautiful glass of red wine, which are called polyphenols. They're these plant compounds that give life. They allow the body to reduce inflammation. There's actually anti-cancer properties. And there's a big compound called Resveratrol, which Dr. Goodyear and I are probably going to get really nerdy on some science. Yeah. But in the literature, if you look at it, organic grapes, they're exposed to more stress. Versus if you put a bunch of pesticides on them, a bunch of herbicides, the grapes, they don't have as much stress. And so these organic grapes, when they're exposed to the environment, they produce more of these compounds. So they have higher concentrations of resveratrol, which is a wonderful compound that has many medicinal properties for not just anti-cancer support, anti-inflammatory support, cardiovascular disease. And I think that's what's really important too, is that when he's talking about giving life versus wines that don't have organic practices, the concentration of these compounds are much less.
Yes, but the good news is that many winemakers are going to the organic way.
That's good.
Now, normally, in general speaking, all the humanity is working to don't contaminate so much. Go to the basic, go to the roots.
Yeah.
And many companies of wine are trying to make a more healthy wine, not such commercial. I don't know if the large company could make it, but many small wineries here in Valle are trying to go in this way.
Well, coming here 2 years ago, it was a little wet 2 years ago. You had historic rains and there was water everywhere, but we still had a wonderful experience. It's beautiful here in Valle de Guadalupe. And I want to thank you for opening up your winery to us again. Honestly, opening up your family and opening up your heart. And by the way, his Nebbiolo is fantastic. It's a wonderful wine to be enjoyed with family, friends, with food. And as you said, do life. I love that.
Yes.
Wine is life. Sounds for a great logo. Wine is life.
Yes.
So you can find Raúl Velasco and his daughter, who now runs the show here at Misiones de California, on their Facebook page and Instagram page. I encourage you to check them out and fly into California and take a short drive down. It's only 2 hours down here to Valle de Guadalupe, and you can come to see Raúl yourself, because I've been here twice now. And guess what? I've seen Raúl both times, and what he will do is he will sit down, he will open his heart, open his wine, and break bread with you. So,
Salud.
Raúl,
Thank you.
salud.
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 Muchas gracias, Raúl.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Prescribe Podcast. All references supporting this episode can be found on the prescribe.com website. That's pre-scribe.com. To get your next dose of medical innovation, make sure you subscribe to Prescribe. We'll see you for your next refill.